Mark Emery is visiting Studio 4. He is a committed pot activist, publisher, and president of the BC Marijuana Party. Will you field candidates in 2005 in British Columbia?
Yes, and it's going to be a pivotal election. I'm looking down the road at 2009 when we have proportional representation, I'm trusting, and I believe the BC Marijuana Party could get 5%. We got 3.6% of the vote in the last election after just being a party for 2 months. I believe we could certainly get 5% if that was the threshold by which you would get members in the legislature if you got 5%. So that's in 2009. And for this upcoming election, we're going to run candidates in all 79 ridings with the important caveat that if there's a Liberal or a New Democrat that believes in repealing the drug war or ending marijuana prohibition, that we wouldn't run against that candidate.
Okay, is it a single cause party, or are you going to have positions on health, education, social issues, all of the above?
Well, we do have positions on all those, but they all have the implications of the drug war in them. Like my belief is that we should abolish the prison system, not detention of bad people, but having an organized series of gulags where we put people in jail and then make worse criminals out of them. Virtually, you know, people come out of jail, and they all will come out of jail eventually, are worse off than when they went in, and that's a major mistake for our society and the public safety, because we're creating and breeding criminals in our prisons. We should isolate the bad people, but if you're not violent and you're not a direct threat to the safety of the community, people should be under house arrest much more frequently and given financial penalties or penalties that are alternatives to jail, and that only the really bad people should be sent to jail, and they can be sent into cabins and isolated areas of British Columbia. I don't believe in building huge concrete facilities where we teach people to be jailers. I think it's very mind-numbing and soul-numbing for people to be jailers and working in institutions.
So you think prison rehab is an oxymoron?
Oh, yeah, that's nothing. Yeah, you know, you need
if we could put people
prisons
into prisons
are from a period of 200-300 years ago, like they're left over from the Bastille and stuff like that, where we just threw away the key. It hasn't changed at all much in 200 years, and we really need to revolutionize how. So
non-violent criminals you would put back into their own homes with a chip on their ankle or something?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a lot of modern technology that can make sure people behave, and if the issue is that they can't play properly with others and they can't other people's property isn't safe around them, then we have to withdraw their mobility privileges, but it doesn't mean we have the right to punish and put people in concrete gulags.
Okay, what's happening on the compassionate pot scene in British Columbia, in Canada?
Well, first of all, the pot scene's dramatically shaping in Vancouver right now. For example, there's a place at 1018 Commercial Drive called Dakine where they sell 8 kinds of marijuana, 3 kinds of hashish, various kinds of pot foods, and this is going right on our main street in Commercial Drive and is available to anybody. And that's making
what I do. Why are they not being shut down?
Well, because there has to be an outlet for them, and I think that with such a supportive mayor in the city as in Larry Campbell, I think at some point the police have to say, well, if we let him open and sell marijuana, is that better than what's happening now where people buy their marijuana in more sinister and subversive kind of sources? And so I think if you're transparent and you're not sinister and you're doing something obvious and open in our society that's related to marijuana, you're likely to survive if the public can perceive that you're an improvement over the alternative.
So he's not just selling compassionate pot and you don't have to have a prescription from your doctor to get it. No. But they shut down Philippe Lucas in Victoria.
Yeah. Well, they haven't shut him down. They've raided their grow ops there, and Philip's a wonderful person.
And he was arrested?
Terrific. Oh, yes. Well, we've all been arrested. That's a badge of honor. That's not going to discourage many people. But I will tell you, the fellow who runs Dakine on Commercial Drive spent 2.5 years in jail for growing marijuana, so he understands fully the risk he's taking. And he's a wonderful fellow, and it's a wonderful new facility that makes Vancouver much like the Amsterdam that's been promoted. It's the first time I can actually say it's like Amsterdam. When you can buy 12 or 13 different cannabinoid products in a store on a main street, then we're getting a lot like Amsterdam.
Do you cross the border?
I never leave Canada. I've never left for 7 years, not going to. And as long as marijuana is illegal in the United States or Canada, I'll never leave.
No, because then you would be in jail.
Well, the Americans
for a big, long time.
The American government, in fact, you've got drug czar John Walters marked there. Well, he hates me, and the United States government's declared me a dangerous person to the United States as far as the drug war goes. I'm one of the leading financiers of battles in courts and politics. We've given money to Dennis Kucinich for his U.S. presidential primary campaign. We influence a lot of court battles. We give $25,000 to ballot initiatives a couple of years ago in the United States. So we're heavily involved in the U.S. political scene. nicotine, and the drug czar doesn't like me at all.
No, he was here at the Board of
yeah.
Trade, and I believe you bought a table.
Oh, I bought it right in
recall.
front of him. Yeah, I have a nice photograph of him just moments before. I'm saying, Mr. Walter, can I get a photograph with you? And he says, well, who are you? I'm Mark Emery, publisher of Cannabis Culture magazine. I never saw a person turn so beet red so quickly and looked like they'd seen the devil incarnate. So that was, and there was a picture taken at that moment when he realizes what I'm saying. Oh, those Secret Service guys were like 1 inch off my body, too, like just waiting for me to reach into my jacket or something.
How much pot do you smoke?
I can smoke a lot of pot on a good day. At the Toker's Bowl, which is a big event we had in Vancouver for Americans and Canadians who come from all over North America, 200 people came, and we gave them 25 different kinds of pot, and they sampled it over the next 4 days. But I remember on July 1st, Cannabis Day, at the Art Gallery, I lit 300 joints. I lit 300 joints, probably smoked another 100 with people. So, you know, that's probably the equivalent of 50 to 100 joints I smoked in the entirety that day. And I will tell you, I needed a day or two just to rest, to recover from that. But I can smoke up to 50 to 100 joints in one day, but I typically would smoke 2 or 3 joints in a day.
And no health effects? Have you been to the doctor lately?
Oh, well, I'll tell you one thing. I won't get cancer or any disease of the lungs and respiratory system. No one ever gets cancer or dies smoking marijuana exclusively. If you don't smoke cigarettes and you smoke marijuana, you'll never get cancer of the lungs or any respiratory.
So if you could make a trade between nicotine and marijuana, you would take nicotine
out
of the mix?
Well, they don't work similarly. Oh, nicotine's bad. Nicotine's a vasoconstrictor. It cuts off oxygen and blood to your cell tissue. That's why if you chew tobacco, you'll get cancers and lesions of mouth, because it doesn't just require smoking. You can chew it and kill cells. But marijuana, in fact, THC, when it hits your lung lining and you inhale it, opens up arteries and veins and delivers more blood and more oxygen. It's a vasodilator. It works in the opposite way. So it'll take more oxygen, more blood to your skin tissues, and it'll deliver THC, which attacks tumor to those faraway places in your lungs. So you're going to stay very healthy if you smoke.
So when you read the research, and as you know, there's many brain researchers, there's many doctors who say pot does many things to your body, it's destructive, it ruins your motivation.
The Senate committee found that all those ones were fraudulent. They were paid for by governments that wanted those results. The Senate committee found that when they analyzed the real research, there was absolutely no harmful effects to marijuana, except to chronic users, they could get bronchitis. That was the only long-term use they found that was supported by any scientific data.
Do you know how many people smoke marijuana in this country approximately?
Yeah, 16% of British Columbians. 16% of British Columbians.
1/6?
Well, 16% is in fact 1/6, yeah. And 15% in, no, it's 16% in British Columbia, but we're working on that 60%. And then 15% in Quebec and 12% on average.
Young, old, boomers?
Well, half of all the people in their teenage years are smoking marijuana regularly, and from 24 to 34, it's about 30%, and from 34 to 45, it's about 22%. It only really, if you eliminated the people over 60, you would find that a huge minority of Canadians of adult age between 18 and 55 are smoking marijuana.
Growing marijuana?
Well, a lot of them will grow for it eventually, because at $200, $250 an ounce, you're virtually forced to try your hand at growing marijuana because it's so easy. I mean, if you can grow anything, you can grow marijuana. So if you can grow tomatoes or corn, worthless things that you can buy for $1 or $2 a pound at the supermarket, you know, marijuana by the pound is $2,000, $3,000. So everybody who smokes marijuana sooner or later will try growing marijuana. And they'll grow more than 50 plants because, as people know from botany, you can take cuttings and shoots off a plant, put it in the dirt, and they grow into more plants. So you could have 50 plants in a week, and yet they want to put you in jail for 14 years for that.
What's next for you?
Well, I'm going to keep it this. There's the provincial election next May. I'm excited to be the leader of the BC Marijuana Party, and I'm looking forward to campaigning against Rich Coleman, who's a terrible, porcine, corpulent fascist.
In your opinion?
Well, what else would I be articulating? Of course, it's my opinion. But Rich Coleman's an evil man, and I'm looking forward to...
In your opinion? Well, I'm trying to help you here.
Well, why is that? You can say someone's evil. That's vague enough not to... I mean, that's open to all kinds of things, biblical description, literary description, what have you. No, I would certainly... You remember, the truth is always a defense, Fanny.
I understand that.
No, just to remind you, as a fellow journalist...
Indulge me here.
Oh, okay.
In your opinion. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, certainly not at this station. I'm sure this station has the highest view of Rich Coleman. But as a person who represents all the victims of his drug war that he's waged in the Liberal government for the last 3 years, I can tell you that we think he's an evil, awful man.
You're not on his side.
That's right.
I thank you. Nice to see you.